Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I am just glad you're here. Quick second to thank all the channel members. I want to thank you guys and gals so much for supporting the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank just anybody who comes in here to watch my knife, my EDC content. That supports the channel by y'all just watching my content. I really appreciate it. If you are so inclined, you like the content, and you hadn't had a chance, if you hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon, it also helps me out. But enough of that, and I'm sorry to always start the videos with that. It just shows that most people that watch videos just don't think of subscribing. Or they don't like the content and I just got to do better. So anyway, I just pointed out, this knife is the second T.Kell that came in when I was trying out a couple of their newer models. And this is one that initially I wasn't altogether sure of. I didn't altogether understand it. After carrying it for a little over a week, after comparing it to the Nighthawk, the similarities, the differences, and then how I, Javon, use a fixed blade knife, an EDC knife, tactical knife. This kind of covers a lot of different bases. And what this is this is the T.Kell Nightstalker CG. The CG designation just stands for combat grade. So the Nightstalker came out a while back, and it has always, from what I can tell, been one of T.Kell's, if not their most popular, best-selling knife for tier 1 operators and their customers all around the country, right? And it starts out with a, we'll measure it, but I want to say this is not the Nightstalker. This is the combat grade, but the regular Nightstalker starts off with a 0.125 inch thick stock, I believe. And you can either get them in 80 CRV2, which this one is, or ABEL. Either one are going to be coated and treated not only with their proprietary heat treat process, but they use a nickel boron coating that makes this look stonewashed, but I assure you it's not. It's a treatment that they use very extensively in the pew-pew industry, and it cuts down on everything from corrosion to heat to wear. But this knife, unlike the Nighthawk, which I also love, which we'll look at in a second, they're very similar sized. This CG, the combat grade, which is a little bit thicker, we'll measure it, but I think it's close to 0.165 thickness, so they beefed it up, and it's kind of been set up to address the request for those tier 1 operators and those customers who wanted kind of a battle tough, do it all, slicing slash pry bar slash heavier use variant of the Nightstalker. The size, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have a Nightstalker, but I think the overall lengths and dimension of the knife are very, very consistent. This is a ring knife, like the Nighthawk that I brought in, but it also uses that very unique grip. These are removable grips if you wanted to switch them out with a different color, just pointing that out. But the ring, this is a ring knife, but the ring is designed totally different than any other ring knife I've handled. But should I not want to use that ring knife, which at first I didn't think I would until I realized how well it works, but my hand fits perfectly right in to that handle, and I wasn't going to pull out a T.Kell right off the bat, but this is the Raider. The Raider's a little different knife, totally different kind of build, but the handle's very, very similar. And you can see where my hand comes, it doesn't wrap all the way back, but where my hand comes, it fits right within that same area that I've seen in the Nighthawk, in the Nightstalker, in my Combatant. What I love about T.Kell knives, not only are they hardworking, made in the USA, slicey knives that get the job done, but for me, with the medium, large size hands, with kind of, regularly skinny fingers, it is very, very comfortable. So ever since I first realized I could hold the knife well inside the ring, it went away because I realized that not only is this ring very minimalistic, but it's 100% rounded over. There are no sharp edges on this ring. So regardless of how I'm gripping this ring, I'm not feeling anything catch my finger. It's done very well. It's very, I don't want to say minute, but it's very unobtrusive, right? It doesn't spread my grip when I go to use that ring. Again, if I want to, I can tight grip it right in there. If I want to, I can tight grip it right in there. I've got my finger choil, I've got my jimped harpoon, and I've got my pinky ring or my combat grip ring, which gives me full control over this blade. I mean, scary control. And then on the other side, this could be a glass breaker. It could be a head tapper. It could be a tent spike driver in the grounder. It could be a lot of things, right? But what I love about this knife, and a lot of the fixed blades I'm seeing, but a lot of the T.Kell knives is, and again, I'm new to fixed blade, guys, so sizes are kind of different for me. I've always thought of fixed blade knives, like I've got some, as being bigger full-size knives. But what I love about the knives that I'm getting to experience from T.Kell, if I take this all the way back to the ring, which I wouldn't, because I wouldn't consider that really the length of the knife, but we can, it's the size of our bug out. So if we look at our blade, it's going to come in maybe 1/8 of an inch larger than our bug out. If we look at our handle, you know, we're going to come in there very, very similar to our bug out. Absolutely fantastic in this grip. So I carry this particular one in my back pocket. This is the deep concealment clip. I've also got one with my ulti-clip, which the only reason I like the ulti-clip, it's bigger and it's clunkier as a piece of hardware, but this discrete carry clip is designed so well and so well engineered. When you pull this back, I don't know if you can see, but you've got this little reverse tang that goes into your hem. So once I slip this over my back or my right pocket, the sheath's not coming out, but literally the sheath's not coming out. It takes a lot of work to get it out. But T.Kell, on their Kydex sheath, a couple of things that I love. One, your mounting options. So ulti clips, discrete carry clips, ulti clips, any clip that you look at that you find, right? They're going to have different bolt patterns. A lot of knives that I love give you a few bolt patterns. So you can either adjust your ulti clip to where it fits in the bolts. Can't get it exactly where you want it. Different ulti clips you can, but that's normal, right? What Tim and Suzanne do is they've still got the rivets for some of the most, I guess you'd say, popular mounting areas, but then you've got these grooves, which are not much to think about. You just cut out these little 1/2-inch grooves that allow you to whatever mounting method you want to use to carry the knife. You've got a lot more flexibility on if you want it to ride high in your pocket, if you want it to ride low. I've just always loved the way these knives carry. I've got different clips on almost every T.Kell I know and own just because I wanted to see how flexible they are. And guys, they're very, very flexible. So this guy, again, is going to be a little thicker. We're going to measure it in a sec, but first I'm going to take some of this kind of damp paper that probably won't cut great. It will. So this is the thicker version of the Nightstalker. Fantastic 3/4 inch flat ground blade. You can see some of the CNC milling lines there. You can see right here, made in the USA, and right here, T.Kell and our blade steel, which is 80 CRV2. You've got a little jimping in your handle. Your scales, which are also machined to give you fantastic purchase, but you have no displacement between the tang and the scales. Really done well. And then, as much as I like the Nighthawk and that Wicked Tanto, I think my comment of the blade, what's the point of this? Which it's a pokey stabby, right? Because it's a Tanto. Guys, this Nightstalker, whether it was the smaller, thinner Nightstalker or this combat grade, the fact that you can pry with this, you can stab with this, and I didn't take a picture of it, but I've got an old piece of oak that was knocked down in a tornado we had about, I don't know, a month and a half ago. I got a piece that was cut down. It's a wedge, so it's not easy to jab shit in because it's not flat, but I jabbed this into that hard piece of maple that's just been drying out. It went down to probably right here, and I was in the rings. And I'll have to show you. I'll take a picture of it. I've got a picture on Instagram with my chickadees stuck into it, but they're not stuck nearly as deep. And guys, the tip did not deform. The knife did not hurt my hand when I jabbed it in, kind of at an angle. But from a defensive knife to an everyday carry knife, I used to be opposed to rings, and you can get a lot of these knives without the rings. I even at one point said, Tim, I've seen you do some handles that incorporate the ring, and then that way the buyer would have the choice to go with the ring or without the ring. Well, Tim always said, well, I really like the ring. And I was thinking to myself, well, I've really never experienced the ring, but I'm not used to it. Tim, thank you for saying, idiot, try the freaking ring and then complain about it. Because literally, I was just looking at it as, and this is going to show my ignorance, as a karambit or some kind of, you know, ninja knife, which it's not. If I'm using this out in a rescue situation, that ring keeps the knife in my hand, right? If I'm using it across a creek and I'm trying to do some work, the ring is only enhancing my grip, and it's not at all hindering my grip or hindering the comfort of my grip. And worst case scenario, I can choke up, which I can tell you I never do. You've got one nice piece of jimping. You've got this really nice thick swedge, which is going to be thicker on our CG, our combat grade, because if I'm not mistaken, comes in at 0.1675, which is what it said. So roughly 0.1675 as opposed to, what we say, what we say it was with the regular Nightstalker. And I'm not going to try to do the math. 0.125, I'm not going to do the math between those two, but you've got a thicker blade, right? Which should mean that we will have a little bit wider grip. I'm guessing this is going to be right over ½ inch, 0.5540, but very narrow with this nice finger swell here. And I love the way it catches the back of your hand. We saw that it was about bug out size, but let's look at it real quickly before we measure it. Next to the T.Kell Raider, which is also an excellent EDC knife. Our Bradford Guardian 3, again, if you take the ring out of it and you look at the blade and what you have in handle, yeah, you're looking at a very similar knife. A little bit more bulbous, contoured handle there, but still a great knife. And then we will look at it next to our Nighthawk. Great knife, shorter grind, better blade geometry for slicey cutty, both pokey stabby. This one, again, is designed primarily as a breacher, as a piercer. This one also, but in my opinion, after carrying it for a while and cutting with it, this one cuts great, guys. Don't get me wrong. It's a thicker, you can see that it's a shorter flat grind than on the Nightstalker. But guys, slicey, right? And then the Raider takes it up a level because it's got a taller grind. I love their steel. I love their heat treat. I love their designs. And I'm stoked to see what they come out with down the road. But anyway, let's look at a couple more quickies. Hold on. because I didn't just want to put you in T.Kell land, I thought we would look at one of my favorite USA knife that kind of takes that same space, although it feels like a much more robust knife to me, and I think that's just in the handle. This is my driver defense, Dustin driver, MagnaCut splinter. I can tell you these knives fit a very, very similar place in my carry. I carry this one with an ulti-clip, cantered the same way, just like I carry these guys. It doesn't have a finger ring, but I can get the tip of my pinky in there if I miss it. I'm just kidding. And then this guy just came in. I've been carrying it around, testing it out, and I can tell you that so far I'm very impressed. This is a fixed blade knife made by our buddies at Axial Knives, Axial Gear. This is their Alpine fixed blade in MagnaCut. They make this in, they call this a Warncliffe. I call it a sheep's foot, tomato, tomato. They also make it in an American Tanto and a drop point. Just around the same price, same basic range, totally different knives. I look at this more of a gentleman's carry kind of EDC fixed blade, but when you look at what you are left with in purchase, much thinner blade, much slicier package, much less tier 1 operator, get it done, but you're able to get it done depending on what it is you're doing, where this one is a bruiser, right? So that gives you a couple of sizes with just some kind of different knives that I think fit about the same size category. So if we were going to measure this guy, and I'm terrible with weights and measurements, but we'll do our best. Some people would call that 7 3/4. This really a measurement under 7 3/4. It's between 7.5 and 7 3/4. So you mathematicians can knock that one down, or you can go to the link that I'll leave in the description. And Tim and Suzanne have some banging, accurate dimensions on their site. I'm calling the blade 3.5, even though it's a tiny bit under 3.5. I'm calling the cutting edge 3 1/8. Got a nice sharpening choil here. You could always make that deeper if you wanted to, but your plunge grind terminates right here. Got several sharpenings, and again, no problem if you wanted to drop a Dremel in there. And then the grip, I'm going to give you two grips. I'm going to give you my inside grip, which is 3 inches. So that's my forefinger grip, if you're not a ring finger guy. Ring finger guy, if I've got it in the center, I'm over 3 3/4. So over 3 3/4 there. If I need to get more room, I'm roughly at 4 1/8. Guys, it feels solid. It has a blade shape that I find to be very, very functional in a lot of different settings and situations. Again, my setting is typically urban EDC guy who would like to get out and chop more vines. I did chop some vines with this on my porch, just FYI. This is the naked weight. Keep in mind, this is the combat grade, so it's thicker blade stock. It's going to come in at 4.25 ounces. I've got a deep concealment clip on this one. My pack weight, 5.65 ounces. I can tell you guys that is not noticeable to me. If it was, maybe if it was a little bit lighter, I would notice it was a little bit lighter, but it wouldn't feel like nearly the substantial tool that I'm holding in my hand right here. I'm a huge fan. I can highly recommend this. I don't think they're in stock now, but one thing about T.Kell is they get their runs, they get their materials together, they get their local partners lined up, they stage them out. If you leave an email, either with their newsletter, or if you see a knife that's out of stock, they'll notify you before you can reserve it. It's not like a pre-order to where they take money, it goes over to China or somewhere, and then the knife comes back. They just try to get a gauge of how many knives they're going to have their local partners work with them to make. And I've now had the Nightstalker, the Nighthawk. Two knives that I did not really think I would have much interest in checking out, but I was really, really wrong. The T.Kell Raider and its thinner, more aggressive combatant that I don't have out here. The what I use as a camp knife, my Outer Limitless Accomplice, which is not the biggest knife in their offering, but for me it's a full-size banger of a knife. And then my little Piranha, my little small, handle-driven, nice blade, perfectly comfortable little knife. And I love them as people. I love them as what they're trying to bring to the community and why. And I really love the fact that they're open to not just feedback, but ideas from crazy knife dudes like me who say, God, it'd be cool if that was different, small, yada yada. It may never come because they're so busy, guys. That's the whole thing. When you got tier 1 operators from different departments all around the country seeking you out because your tools are not only cool, but they're tactical, they're sought after, you can get these knives, guys. They're very accessible. They have a show that I watch every Sunday morning, even though sometimes I'll just creep. They've got a show on YouTube. I want to say it's at 9 or 10 o'clock Georgia time. It's an early morning show, goes for a couple hours. They answer questions. They give away a knife each live. Usually about 300 to 500 people in there. Really cool fixed blade conversations and other conversations because they're a Marine-owned business. They're the legit deal, guys. T.Kell, Nightstalker CG, or if you don't need the extra, I'm going to have to do the math, 0.125, 0.165, is that like 0.4? If you don't need the extra 0.4 inches, the Nighthawk is probably a little slicier. It's going to feel very similar, maybe a little thinner grip, but nothing that I would notice. Well done, Tim. Well done, knife. Thank you for insisting that I try out one of your pinky rings instead of just staying partial to what I thought of as pinky rings, which was, I dig it. I like it. I'm looking forward to checking out they got a wicked Warncliffe, guys, that has, it's got one purpose, unless you want to cut two kite strings at the same time. Guys, I won't waste your time anymore. Thank you for watching the video. If you're still here, God, thank you for sticking it out with me. If you hit the subscribe button, it'd be awesome. Most importantly, please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for that guy or gal to your right. Please keep an eye out for each other. Go forward with love in your hearts. Always choose to bait, not hate. I love you all. Peace.